Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to Rachel's Reviews. I always have such a great time doing this podcast, especially when I get to talk with people from all over the world like I get to do. But sometimes podcasting is not an exact science, and it can be a little frustrating. Once we got this podcast recorded, Trevor is there in Australia. I'm in the United States. And for whatever reason, there was some problems with the audio. But we talked about it and decided to go ahead and release it, that there was enough good content and enough good spots to make it worth it. So just wanted to give you a little heads up that it's not perfect, but hopefully there's enough there for you to learn something and enjoy our discussion on Captain Marvel. So thanks so much, everybody, and we'll talk to y'all later. Hi, everybody. So we are so excited today to be back talking comic books. And it's been about a year. It was 9 months. I can't remember. Last time was it just Infinity War?
Yeah, last time was Infinity War.
Yeah. So the last time that we talked comic book movies, and then we took a little break, and so I'm really excited to have Trevor from How to Love Comics back again on the podcast. Thanks so much.
Hi, everyone.
So how have you been?
Yeah, I've been really good. Really good. Just been reading lots of comics, watching movies, and
good.
Having a good time.
Dive in. We had a very special Marvel logo here.
Yeah, they did. It is a tribute to Stan Lee, which I thought was a very nice thing to do. Flashing with all his cameos and very much the smiling Stan Lee. Very nice.
Do you know if this is the last live action cameo that we'll get of him, or do they have one for Endgame recorded?
I don't know. I feel like, I guess it depends on when these movies were filmed.
Uh-huh.
Was Endgame wasn't filmed like back to back, was it?
But I think that they brought him in and it did like a ton. But in just one. But I don't know for sure. I don't know. If anybody knows, let us know. But yeah, that was really sweet. And both times that I saw it, everybody clapped at the end. It was really nice.
It's a very nice tribute to him. And when he died, there was a lot of nice tributes to him. Even DC did a tribute, which they printed in the back of all the comics.
They did?
It was... it's like thank you, Stan, from the distinguished competition, because that's what Stan DC stand for, was distinguished competition.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
Yeah, it's a nice little touching.
They had a little thing about him in Teen Titans Go. Movies that a little, which was kind of cute for Stan.
That's right.
Yeah. But I like that. That's neat. So, all right. Well, very cool. Talk about the character and the history of Captain Marvel. It's going to be really fun. So I understand she had different variations, I guess, through the years that started out as, Marvel started out as the character and as a man.
Yeah, so it's a very complicated character, and it's very much a legacy character. There's probably about 6 people who have gone under that name. There was, like you said, Marvel started off, and there was sort of a alien guy comes to Earth, becomes a hero. Carol Danvers is actually a supporting character in that time. So she has a connection to the original Captain Marvel.
Uh-huh.
And when she eventually gets powers in the sort of the late 70s, there's the explosion of a device which mixes Captain Marvel's DNA with hers, and she gets the powers. So she's half Kree from Captain Marvel, but also half human as well.
Oh.
That's sort of the connection. And then but she came as a superhero called Ms. Marvel. So joined the Avengers, had solo adventures before becoming Captain Marvel sort of about 2012. So she's been Captain Marvel since 2012.
Okay, because what I read was that, it started as Marvel, and then in 1982, there was a Monica Rambeau Captain Marvel in Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah.
And
so it was Monica Rambeau and it very sort of different powers to sort of general sort of the Captain Marvel that we all know.
okay.
But the sort of name continued.
And then then there was Genus Vell there was a man in the 90s.
So that was like he was like in convoluted comics. It was like his son, but it was also not technically his son. It was sort of an artificial son, and then it sort of kept on the legacy again. An official daughter as well that came along later, who was Captain Marvel for a very short time. And then there's been another character who's known as Marvel Boy, who became Captain Marvel a very, very short period of time. So it was like a blip on the radar, really.
Yeah, they said Phyla Vell, which was, I guess, Genus's sister, and then that was 2004. And then it said Conner, which was 2007. Said it was
that's right.
A Skrull sleeper agent. And then Novar was the Dark Avengers male version.
Yeah, that's correct.
My gosh.
It's like things change, but then it snaps back and changes.
Yeah.
It all gets convoluted. When you're in it, it seems to make sense at the time, but when you look back out, it looks crazy.
Because so when they didn't make Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel until 2012, correct?
Yeah, so she was Miss Marvel up until then, but yeah, she wasn't Captain Marvel.
And that, I guess Stan Lee said it was Carol Danvers as Chuck Yeager, basically the famous pilot. That's what I said on Wikipedia. That's my great resource here. But I have to say, so I got the comic, the Captain Marvel, Earth's Greatest Hero graphic novel book, volume 1. I didn't really like it. I don't know. There are a couple things.
Like it?
No, I didn't. It's probably my least favorite comic that I've read since we've been doing these. And I felt like almost every single time the female characters were shown, it felt like a modeling shoot. And their hair was like windswept and they were very bosomy, I thought. And I don't know. I just felt a little bit, this is made for dudes more than it's made for women. And I don't know. I just found it kind of off-putting. I didn't really like it.
No, that's fair enough. The character, like, especially one of the reasons they went from Ms. Marvel to Captain Marvel was meant to be this transition to a strong female with away that sort of stuff. But they sort of didn't stick the landing 100% to start with because they sort of picked the wrong artist, and that didn't quite help. Later down, they do a lot better job, but they picked the wrong artist and it didn't help. So the writing is strong, but the art doesn't reflect the writing, which is a bit disappointing.
Yeah, like there's one where she goes back to 1943 and is fighting, and the one of the other girl soldiers has pigtails and a basically like a sports bra military top, and her name is Daisy. And I don't know, just stuff like that. That's like, what are we in, a Zack Snyder movie? Like, this is what's going on here. It wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, it is disappointing. The artist that they had after that was much stronger and should have probably been on it from the start. The characters that they should have been portrayed in terms of, like I said, less bosomy and a bit more female friendly, less male gaze.
Okay, good. Yeah, well, that's good.
After the opening arc, it's all uphill from there.
Oh, good. Well, that's good to hear. I didn't finish it all, so hopefully it gets better at the. But I was just kind of like, oh, I don't want to read this. So there are some characters that I kind of wish had appeared in the movie. There's a Helen Cobb, Tracy Burke, Daisy Johnson was even her skimpy clothes, but there were some interesting characters I thought. There was a Japanese character that I wrote down. Now I can't find it. Yeah. Oh gosh, now I can't find it.
But yeah, so
Anyway.
so like someone like Helen Cobb, roughly sort of while she wasn't named, she was sort of amalgamated into a different character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that they probably they couldn't bring any of those characters in because they felt like they had to kind of they were so tied to what was happening with Infinity War. I know, because that would have made it way more complicated if she'd had this whole team behind her and all of that stuff, don't you think?
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's sort of considering she's already got like the Captain Marvel name and her capacity was convoluted to start with. You got to sort of shed certain things so it makes sense with the rest of the Marvel cinematic universe, and then go from there. So you never know, those characters might come down the track later on, or they might.
Yeah.
It's sort of those things you got to amalgamate to get it on the screen in a usable sense.
Yeah, I think that they were like, I enjoyed the movie, but I do think that it felt a lot like Age of Ultron to me, in the sense that both those movies were kind of hurt a little bit by the fact that they were important pieces in the larger cinematic puzzle.
Yeah, I can understand what you mean. It's sort of like they had like a particular continuity or to move the universe forward to a degree, which sometimes that can hurt a movie, especially if you need a movie to, because a movie should also stay alone. But if you're too tied to sort of continuity.
Yeah, because none of the new characters could really stay with her because she needs to bump up ahead in time to be there for Infinity War. And the rest of those characters are in 1995.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if they did the sequel, if it would be also set in that 90s period. Because they do, we can talk about it a bit later, but there is sort of opportunity for a sequel. Most likely set in space.
Right. Well, anyway, yeah, so it's interesting. The character, I guess, spent a lot of time with Captain America and then also with Peter Parker, depending on the era, I guess. That's the only other major Avengers character I read in these comics. Was
So I mean, she's the mainstay in the Avengers. So she sort of spent a lot of time with various Avengers teams and members. So there's like a strong staple in the market.
Would you agree that she's not comparable to Wonder Woman as far as character in the lore and everything? Like, Wonder Woman's way more predominant.
No, I wouldn't say that. Definitely, yeah. Maybe after this movie, she might jump up a couple of weeks. But traditionally, she hasn't been as well known as Wonder Woman. Sort of very much at the top, and then there's a big gap. Till like the most recognizable after that, which might be Catwoman or someone like
that. Yeah, maybe like a Batgirl or something like that. All right, good. Okay, good. All right, so this movie, it starts out, we see Carol. What we see, she's known as Vers.
Yep, that's right. We see her fighting with Jude Law. Well, actually, no, she has the dreams first. That's right, dreams, and we don't quite know what these mean. We find out later that these are flashbacks, but at the moment we have no idea what these mean.
Right. So
kid and all the smoke.
Yeah, it starts out in Hala. She's on the planet for the Kree people. And I guess we have seen some Kree people. I didn't realize that we had. But you see later on, Jaimin Hunsu's character, Korath, who was in Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess is Kree.
Yeah, so, and we're on one of the Kree planets for Guardians of the Galaxy.
The very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he does his dance. And then Ronan, I guess, is Kree.
Yeah, and Ronan's the Kree as well, yeah.
And so this is a alien race that, is there any other characters that we've gotten to know except for those two?
In terms of ones that we've seen so far, I guess, those are
The two.
the main ones. And then we sort of but then we get introduced to more Creed characters down the track.
Do most of the
Jude Law's young Rogue.
Right. Do most of the planets in the Marvel universe have homogeneous aliens? Does that make sense? Like they're all the same, or are they mixed up?
It's a one. I guess it depends on the planet. It depends on the really, because there's like ones where there's like they have like expansive empires.
Uh-huh.
So then there's a bit more of a variation because it's sort of they spread out and then they sort of take over other planets or unify with other planets, and then so
because in Guardians of the Galaxy, there's that whole planet with
people or someone.
Yeah, with everybody. That whole city in Guardians of the Galaxy. But anyway, so there's this place, and I guess since you know the comics, you must have been immediately suspect of the Kree, or was that a surprise for you?
With the twist, yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. Because the Kree in the comics is sort of, they can be villainous, they can sort of be, so it depends, like it sort of flip-flops depending on the story. Because obviously someone like Ronin is always seen as a villain, but the Kree aren't always a villain. So it sort of,
so you didn't know?
It was a bit nuts, so I didn't know.
Right. Well, I didn't know until as soon as I saw, because somehow I missed that in the trailer that Ronan was going to be in the movie. So when I saw him, I was like, I leaned over to my friend. I'm like, oh, he's a bad guy. She's like, yeah, duh. But anyway, so she gets the Kree blood in her when they find her. And so does she become kind of Kree? But they put that thing in her to make her like not be as powerful.
Yes, it's a dampen the power. The blood transition from Kree. I know you become like part Kree, but obviously she's got Kree blood now, so obviously replaced the blood because she bleeds blue the whole time.
Yeah. So, and she just has these flashes of her past. She gets these nightmares, and she gets this training from Jan Rog about her getting rid of her emotions and fighting and not giving in to her anger, her frustration, or whatever. And how did you feel about how they set up the mystery and how they kind of handled that whole part of the movie?
Yeah, I liked it because I find it interesting because it was a very, very non-linear way of storytelling for an MCU movie. I mean, most of these movies are very, especially the opening ones, very linear in the sense that it's character. We meet character, they get into a and get the power or the gift or along those lines, and then they meet a bad guy.
Yeah.
In the story. This is, established a bit of this character powers, and then we sort of find out through the progression of the movie how that actually happened, which I think is it must be a change because it can get a bit stale using the exact same formula, especially since the Marvel movie often criticised that being very formulaic.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who kind of similar kind of loses their memory of who they are. I mean, it may be kind of similar to Superman. Man of Steel was divided up in a way that it wasn't as effective in doing that because it was all split up all over the place. But the original Superman from way back, I think, had some of that flavor from 1978.
Yeah, I guess it meant just like he was born didn't realize what.
Yeah. And so I thought it worked. I really liked her.
Yeah.
I thought it brought some heart to her kind of trying to figure out sort of who she is. I kind of almost felt a little bit like, I don't know, something like Harry Potter, kind of trying to figure out who he is. And he's always felt kind of out of place and what's going on. And kind of, there's a lot of stories like that in literature. And so I thought I liked it. These two directors are indie directors that they that they plucked from obscurity to make this movie. And Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck are their name. And I think that those scenes are probably where you saw them the most. And I think maybe probably the most mixed response that people will have, because it is kind of a little bit different. But I liked it. I thought it gave her some heart and kind of got you engrossed in the movie right away with what was going to be happening. So you find out about the scrolls, and which are the enemy of the Kree, and they are basically shapeshifters. And how did you feel about the way they depicted the scrolls?
I was happy with it. It was one of those things where they're pretty much what they were in the comics. We find out later on that their motivations probably a bit, are different to what we originally thought. And that was a nice twist to them, because they're often, 99% of the time, they're sort of depicted as the villain of the piece.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the way that was going to go the full way through. But so it was a nice little spin on that. And they had a lot of like heart and heart to them, with the sort of having families, and you actually could sympathise with them as well.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of Klingons in Star Trek, the way they looked to me. I don't know if you know Star Trek at all, but they kind of, which they're villains, of course, in Star Trek, but I don't know. That's immediately their makeup design and stuff kind of reminded me of Klingons. But
it was actually when I was in the movie where they did a bit of a sort of a cry kind of thing, and it sounded like it's sort of I clicked in my head, Klingon. When they do that death cry.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Especially this last season of Star Trek Discovery is especially true. They really looked like, because they have a little bit of a different design on Discovery. But I don't know, it just reminded me a lot of that. Yeah. So that's interesting. And so there's also this idea of this supreme intelligence. That's this artificial intelligence that you go to, you talk to, and it shows you who you admire most, I think, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, it was like the person you most admire is show up as.
So she sees, this woman there. We don't know who she is. It's Annette Bening, who ends up being Dr. Lawson or Marvell, and we get to know her a little bit later on. But yeah, what did you think about that?
It was an interesting choice for me, because I was like, well, as soon as I heard them drop the name Supreme Intelligence, it's like, I wonder how they're going to do this, because in the comics, the Supreme Intelligence is this giant. It's almost if you're familiar with Power Rangers at all, of Zordon, where it's like a head in the jar. It's like a giant green head with a lot of tentacles flying out of the Medusa style, with probably about 6 eyes in this giant mouth. And I thought, how are they going to do that on the big screen?
Kind of like, it would be similar to that Darmanu?
I think. Yeah, it's kind of like that. But probably like a green and a bit more alien looking.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
And I was like, so to actually have this concept of the person you most admire, it shows, I found was a very interesting idea, because it also played into the narrative and sort of added to that mystery as well, because like you said, you wonder who this person is and why does she and why this person remote.
Right. And so she ends up getting taken by the scrolls, and first she goes to fight as this like sleeper agent, whatever, and then she gets taken by the scrolls, but she's able to escape, and she ends up taking a ship, and she ends up going to I forget what they call it, CT. I forget what they call Earth.
But essentially it was Earth, yeah.
Yes. So she ends up going to Earth, and she's in 1995, and she ends up crashing through a blockbuster. And I don't know. How did you feel about all of the 1995-ness of the movie? Did you think it was fun or distracting?
it's one of those things, especially the further or the closer you are to something, like let's say the 90s, the more distracting it can be, especially if it's not done in a particular way. Sometimes it feels like, oh, look, we're doing 90s, as opposed to making it sort of feel natural or sort of, not too distracting, like you said. I feel like in terms of if it was distracting, I think it was on that razor's edge, where I think it might be just my mood. I didn't care too much. I sort of knew there was going to be in there. So, I thought too fast, but I feel like if I was in a different mood on the day, it might have bugged me a bit more.
Right.
I just interesting note about Blockbuster. There's only one left now. There was two. There was actually one in Australia which closed up this week, like 2 days ago. Yeah. It closed up, but there's only one left in Oregon.
It's so funny to me because people are so nostalgic about it, and I kind of have to remind people, I'm like, the late fees were the worst. They were like merciless about those darn late fees. You end up
getting in time.
You had to pay it. If you were late at all, then you had to pay. You'd end up paying for the whole price of the VHS if you weren't careful. And like it wasn't that great. But yeah, there's only one left in Bend, Oregon. So yeah, that's a very Oregon thing to do. They're very, very hipstery in Oregon. So it's kind of funny. Yeah. Yeah.
Weird thing, yes. It's like one not too far from me. I just figure out. I just think how it's around. It's not a Buster. It's like a Video Easy. I don't know if you had those in the US, but there's sort of like the competitive chain against the Blockbuster. And yeah, it's bizarre sort of seeing it still there. It's like, well, why? How's that keeping afloat?
Yeah. There's no place like that in Utah. The closest is at one of the art house theaters, at least that I know of. The closest at one of the art house theaters, they have a rental place, whatever. But it's all like Criterions. It's like that. It's very art house, whatever. And so but that's the only place. I mean, there's the library. You can still rent movies from the library here. That's I guess the new Blockbuster.
Yeah, true.
So anyway, I do agree with you. I think it was right on the edge. Sometimes it pushed it, and if somebody was annoyed by it, I would not argue that point with them at all. They definitely like I like my superhero movies to be a bit on the cheesy side. But there were two moments that really pushed it, but I still kind of liked it, but it was really pushing it, is she's not it's not a weapon, it's a woman. That line was so cheesy. That was pushing it, that line. And then also the No Doubt, Just a Girl whole music choice for that whole sequence. That was pretty heavy-handed.
Yeah.
But I still kind of enjoyed it.
I guess it's especially soundtracks is it very thing as well, because everyone has their sort of personal taste, and and because music sort of very, very much represents a person and how they felt at the time. So having something, especially in the 90s or the 80s, a particular soundtrack, if you don't agree with that song or that song means something different to you, it can sort of make or break a scene in a movie.
Well, I like the song. It's just pretty on the nose to be like a girl fighting and saving the world, and the song's about a girl. Like, that's a pretty, like, for instance, Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the things I didn't like about Guardians of the Galaxy 2 compared to Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is I felt like the song choices were way more on the nose in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Whereas the first one, they were just kind of songs of their time. They weren't necessarily like narrating and because the thing I didn't like in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is there's a whole thing where they literally stop fighting the gold people and like change the soundtrack. Like the characters are way more aware of the songs. They're like interacting and it's like they know about it, if that makes sense. And when Star-Lord's dad leaves the mom, of course they play Brandy because she's a fine girl. What a good wife. You know, it's like that's very on the nose of what's happening in the movie as opposed to just being fun music. And that's kind of the same thing here, but I don't know. I guess I was just in a better mood. I don't know. I thought it was fun enough, but I could totally understand. They were definitely, like you said, on the razor's edge there with this movie for sure.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's to roll the dice almost.
Yeah, for sure. So she gets captured. We meet Talos, the head of the Skrulls, played by Ben Mendelsohn. What did you think of him?
I liked it. Obviously, with the accent, he had a bit of personality behind the kind of villain. But then also, he was a very sympathetic character towards the end, especially when sort of the family's introduced. And so I liked him. How about yourself?
Yeah, I did too. I think it worked really well because he's been a villain so many times before. So it did a good job kind of making the twist work because he was a villain in Ready Player One, in Rogue One, a bunch of other stuff. And so I think that helped it kind of be more of a surprise.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So she gets free. She lands on the Earth. And then Nick Fury and Agent Coulson come. What did you think of the de-aging of Agent Coulson and Nick Fury?
I didn't mind it, to be honest. Some of it was, fierce than others. That it was that de-aging kind of thing was happening. Mm-hmm. But overall, I didn't mind it, and it was good to see them in a sort of different dynamic where they're less in charge, and I guess like Coulson, especially at Coulson, where he's ran into the whole thing, and then he sort of definitely sort of will become and sort of been sort of the boss.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it looked amazing, actually, especially on Samuel L. Jackson. I thought it's the best we've ever seen it. I mean, you basically kind of forgot about it. It didn't look quite as good on Coulson. And I think part of that is just because we're not used to seeing him with hair like that. But I don't know. I thought it looked really good. It's kind of scary how far that technology's come.
Oh, definitely, yes. There'll be the cast, they'll be like doing Tom Cruise or something like that, and they'll be getting looking like he was in the 80s or something.
Yeah.
Just live on forever.
It's kind of weird. There's this whole, it's not that good of a movie, but there's this whole movie called The Congress, which is all about, the idea is, I don't know why it's called that, but it's about Robin Wright Penn plays this woman who basically agrees to retire because she's this actress. She agrees to retire, and there's like a computer CGI version of herself that then continues to be young and be in movies. And she kind of gives up her image of herself, and she agrees to kind of, for a lot of money, live in seclusion. And I'm thinking like, oh dear. How far are we from that? This is scary. But
it'll be CGI. I remember when I was in year 9 media, there was my media teacher was like, technology is getting so much better than 20 years time. We won't even have actors anymore. It'll all be CG. It's cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah.
I don't even close to that yet, but I think it's sort of there'll be Benjamin Buttoning a lot of people, I think.
It's scary. Yeah, agreed. Okay. So she goes to this army base, and we find out that, well, first there was some fun action on when she's looking for the scrolls on the train.
On the train, yeah.
That was a pretty fun scene.
That was fun. Yeah, it was some interesting choreography there, where I don't think the movie's strength was choreography by any means. It was sort of standard Hollywood kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that train scene was fun in terms of the situations that they sort of created
Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed that. And so yeah, she punches the old lady in the face. You can't not like that. That's fun. And
Yeah, because that was in the original trailer, and people were like, "Why is she punching an old lady?" Because there was no indication that she was a Skrull at the time.
right. So she finds out at this army place that she is presumed dead after an engine explosion at this pilot, Dr. Lawson, who is the woman that she saw in the they find out who Carol Danvers is, her back, all this stuff at this army place. And there were a lot of really fun moments in this whole section at the army place. I like the whole scene where Fury gets mad at her. He's like, you knew how to do that. You could do that all along, and you let me you let me do the thumb thing with the door. That was funny. Samuel L. Jackson was kind of maybe carrying this movie a little bit. He was really fun, I think.
And he has good comedic stylings as well. So
yeah,
it's sort of he adds to that light mood, which is a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Although Brie Larson, she's interesting in terms of the way she sort of delivers her sort of more comedic lines. She has this very particular smile on her face every time she does it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you noticed. It was it was almost, I would say it's Whedon-esque, but there was sort of a little bit of that sort of Buffy kind of sort of delivery to it. Mm-hmm. In terms of the way her visual expressions.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I liked her. I know she's been very controversial, and most of that, people can have their own opinions about her outside of the movie. But in the movie, I thought that she was a lot of fun, but also serious when she needed to be serious. She's not like my favorite Avenger in the world, but I thought that she was pretty decent. Yeah, if you think about a lot of them, we really haven't grown to love until their second or third movies. I don't think that many people loved Steve Rogers in movie one. Like, we're super attached to him. It took a couple.
No.
You're really attached.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think it's one of those things where it'll either be like repeat viewings or a sequel where she'll be able to up her game yet again.
And
there might be some additional investment to the movie as well.
Because the last couple, we forget, because the last couple weren't really origin stories. We'd already gotten to know them. Like, we already knew Peter Parker. We already knew T'Challa. And so I guess the first Ant-Man, and Paul Rudd is a chemistry machine, so it's not really a fair comparison. But it's been a while since we had an origin story kind of like this. I thought she did fine.
Maybe Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Doctor Strange. Yeah, that's true. All right, so there was all that at the army base, and she finds out that the engine that exploded had the power of the Tesseract in it and gave her strength when it exploded. So here's my question about all of this. So the Tesseract, how does the Tesseract relate with the Infinity Stones?
So there was an Infinity Stone from memory. The Tesseract had an Infinity Stone inside it.
The Tesseract has? I thought that Thanos had all of the stones in the glove.
But this is in 1995, remember? So it's way before Thanos.
Oh.
Remember, Captain America, the first Captain America thing. And after that, we don't know where it's gone. And then we don't see it again until Avengers, and S.H.I.E.L.D. has it. So I guess it's transferring how S.H.I.E.L.D. gets the Tesseract. So, it's 1995, so it's, Thanos isn't even seen yet. But we know it. We know we've seen some kind of Easter egg in outer space with Thanos down the line. But at the moment, so apparently, from memory, there was an Infinity Stone in there, and I'm sure someone listening will be either screaming, yes, that's correct, or no, that's wrong.
So she's found a way to go to go up in time, and she can bring the Tesseract with her. So that'll be like an additional Tesseract.
No, well, it's Tesseract because the cat of the Tesseract, and I don't know if you saw the end credit scene.
Right.
The cat spits it out through his desk. So S.H.I.E.L.D. has it, and she's just been in space for 25 years old. That's my assumption.
So you don't think she has the Tesseract when she's back there with the Avengers? That's not how she's not gonna defeat Thanos that way?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
So the
okay.
Tesseract, because the cat had the Tesseract on the desk. So I think it's just the same one that she has.
Because I'm just wondering, how's she going to be enough to defeat Thanos? I mean, because he was able to defeat all the others. Like, what? How's she going to do it?
The wait and see, I guess.
Like in Justice League.
She's an additional power.
Like in Justice League, you knew that, of course, Superman could defeat whatever that guy's name, I can't remember. But I'm thinking, how's Captain Marvel going to pull this off? What's going on? Interesting. Okay, well, anyway, we'll talk more about that coming up. But so, yeah, so they find they have the Tesseract, and they have George at the army base, and he is delightful. Almost everyone's favorite cat, because cats do not have a good track record in movies. Poor cats.
No.
They're almost always bad. Whether it's the Siamese cats in Lady and the Tramp or the mean cat and Babe, there's a long list of very, very mean cats in movies. So they finally get their superhero in Goose.
Yeah, true.
It was pretty cute.
I was very surprised. When we were watching the credits, when Goose was credited, it's actually 4 different cats.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
4 cats.
That's funny. Oh. So then they end up going with with Talos to the cloaked spaceship, and that's where they find the Tesseract. What am I saying? That's where they find the Tesseract. Sorry. In this ship where they've been keeping it safe, they end up getting found by the Krees, and there's just this back and forth. And so then she ends up going to meet Maria Rambeau, who is her old best friend. And they spend a lot of time at Maria's house talking about stuff. And
yeah, they do.
I found it reminded me a lot of in Ultron when they spend all that time at Hawkeye's house. And I thought it was pretty slow. For me, the movie lost a lot of momentum in the middle. It was just a lot of exposition. Like, I thought it started out strong with the mystery, and then it got slow, and I got kind of bored. I've seen it twice, both times, got a little bored in the middle, and then it kind of picked up again at the end for me.
Oh, definitely. It was obviously one of those things where you had to sort of solve that mystery, and that was sort of the purpose of it. But yeah, I don't think it sort of stuck the landing in terms of bringing it in a way where it revealing everything wasn't sort of a big expedition job.
Yeah, I don't know. Just all that stuff down there with, I thought the lady who played Maria was pretty good. And
yeah, no, she was really good.
Lashana Lynch is her name. But I don't know, just that whole part, it was very slow to me. Yeah, I know a lot of other people didn't feel that way, but I don't know. That wasn't my favorite. And I felt the same way in Age of Ultron. As much as I like Steve and Tony chopping wood together, I used them doing some other stuff. But
maybe they intentionally slowed down the momentum, so give us a breather before sort of picking it up again later.
Yeah.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that she showed enough emotion for like this should be such a huge thing, this whole thing that she thought was the way she should live her life, you know, and then all of a sudden all these stuff makes sense, and it's pretty, I don't know, it's a lot of changes in a very short period of time for one person.
Yeah, you think some people would probably have like a crisis of identity.
Yeah.
She's pretty cool and collected. Maybe it's one that maybe it's more about like a revelation, and it's sort of like, everything clicks. I'm really happy.
Yeah, it finally makes sense.
She didn't really sort of look to it.
Yeah.
It's quite neutral, but there wasn't a strong emotion. But yeah, I wonder if that was a conscious choice, or if it was just a sort of something that thought at the time. Because I thought it would show a bit more emotion with something that's been played in the like screens. It'd be something that played a lot, and like actually solving that sort of your sort of like identity would elicit a bit more of an emotion. Mm-hmm. I've never been in that situation, so maybe that's
Right. Yeah, who knows what you'd feel, right? I feel like there's some, I mean, maybe like you're talking about like Bucky, maybe. I feel like there's somebody obvious that there's another character with a similar story arc that I'm not thinking of that should be really obvious, but for some reason my brain. But anyway, so that's Born Identity. It's kind of the same. Trying to put back together. He has these flashes of memory.
I'm interested. Quickly, I've never actually seen any of the Bourne movies.
Oh, really?
I don't know how I've missed them, but I've just never seen them.
They're good, but they make me sick. They're very bumpy.
Yeah, I've been told that. It's a bit like Transformers guy.
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay, without the explosions.
Yeah. I mean, he does it about as Paul Greengrass is the director's name. He does it about as well as you could do it, but it still makes me. I get very stomach sick, very, very easy, and it makes me. It's too bumpy for me, but I have to wait and watch him at home on the small screen. It's too much for me. But anyway, so then we get to meet Goose, and then he swallows the Tesseract, and he defeats those. He's like a octopus thing.
Yeah,
comes out of
it. Working. I was actually reading one of the comics recently where there's a cat. The cat's got a different name. His name's Chewie, but Carol Danvers goes into outer space, and she has to take the cat with her because no one will look after the cat. But it runs into the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Rocket Raccoon sees the cat. He keeps calling Flerken, and he's like, "Oh, get that away from me! Get that away from me!"
I wonder because Rocket's still alive, right? He didn't get snapped.
Yeah, he's still there. Yeah, because he was in the Super. He wasn't snapped in everything. The Super Bowl teaser that they did.
So that could be funny. If he gets to meet Goose, that could be funny. I could see that being good.
Yeah, I wonder if Goose is still alive, because it is 1995 in Catstone. Well, maybe who knows how long Fleck lived for.
Yeah, who knows how long alien cats? We have no idea. So yeah, and then is it too on the nose to have? Do we need everything to be explained? Like, do we need to know how Nick Fury lost his eye? Is that, you know what I mean? Because there's certain things in movies, like that was a problem with Solo. We don't need to know how Han Solo got his name. We don't need to know, like there's sometimes when it feels like franchises almost over-explain everything to us. And Harry Potter's terrible at that.
It's a big problem with Hollywood in general.
Right.
People, I think they just assume that people need to know all that stuff, where they don't really.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same way. Like, we don't need to know about
those things. You can make your own story.
Yeah, like we don't need to know about midichlorians.
Yeah.
We don't need to know how the Force works in people's blood. It's better if it's a little bit of magic to it, a little bit of mystery. But anyway, we got to know how he lost his eye. So there you go.
Because it's like one of those things where you just make it up yourself, and I always thought it was like some kind of like war injury or something like that, or lost in action or something like that. Not so much scratched by an
alien. Right, exactly. And then she ends up fighting with Yon Rog and sending him back to Hala with a warning. And it's pretty fun moment because he loves kind of, for lack of a better word, he loves mansplaining. I hate that word, but he loves telling her what she should do with her feelings and all this stuff. But now she doesn't have that. She took out that tracker thing, and so she can defeat him. And then she gives Fury the pager. And where's she going at the end?
So she goes off with the Skrulls to help them find a new home.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, the Skrulls. Okay.
So I thought the second movie could be about is her trying to find the home for the Skrulls, and obviously they run into somebody in outer space, which is a bad guy, maybe the Ronin or something along those lines, and adventure ensues.
Yeah, that's right. And so then the mid-credit scene, you have Steve Rogers, you have Black Widow, you have Bruce Banner, and Rhodey all there, like very concerned, watching the pager. I'm sure it took all 4 of them to watch the pager. But there you go. They're there and they're trying to figure out why it's not working. They're monitoring it. And then all of a sudden behind them is Captain Marvel and asking, where's Fury? And that was pretty awesome. I loved that mid-credit scene. It was so good. And I was like, I really feel like Brie Larson and Scarlett Johansson are going to have good chemistry. I think they're going to be good. And it just made me really excited for this next movie.
Yeah, and it was interesting that they actually showed it in this movie as opposed to having that open Infinity War. I guess they want to hit the ground running. I guess having her arrive at the very start like that will they'll be able to do their sort of recap by telling you what's happened, I guess.
Right.
One, what's happened in the movie, or somehow the 5 people that see them.
Well, my hope is too, it'll save us from like too much kind of moaning and groaning at the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Because like we all know that they're coming back. Let's get right into the action. Let's not have this sad dystopian world very much. I want to get right in there. I wasn't crazy about the snap ending, so I just almost kind of want to get it done as quickly as possible. Get things moving.
It's interesting the story, but it's loosely based off. The snap actually happens at the very start of the story. So Thanos is already building trains, and then he goes snap, and it sort of moves on from there. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to sort of, like hopefully not too much moaning and groaning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What are we going to do?
What do you like better? Yeah. Do you like Infinity War or Black Panther better?
I've seen Infinity War more recently. I watched it probably a couple of weeks ago, so it's fresher in my mind. So I think I'll probably go Infinity War. But I feel like Black Panther had I like the visual style of it and sort of the feel of it a lot. It had its own sort of flavor. I feel like Infinity War has its own flavor, but it's not as creative and sort of unique.
Yeah.
Sort of feels just superhero brand as opposed to like where it's superhero brand plus Africa and all that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, I prefer Black Panther, but they're both good. But I just liked I liked Black Panther a lot. I thought it was really good. But anyway, I really liked the mid-credit scene. I thought it was great. Made me really excited to see what's going to happen. And like, I really don't know how Captain Marvel's going to help enough. Like, obviously there's going to be some kind of time thing. And I feel like we're going to get something with Ant-Man and the quantum realm that's going to figure in somehow. So something between the quantum realm, Captain Marvel and her powers. She obviously has some time travel powers because she's there and she looks exactly the same.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe she just doesn't age anymore because of her powers.
Maybe.
I don't know, but yeah, so maybe she's like 40 years old now. But who knows? Yeah, it will all be explained, I guess, or it could be one of those things where they just forget about it and then sort of they'll explain it 3 movies down the track.
But if they screw it up and it's super lame, it's some like if it's just the Carol that Captain Marvel just with her powers alone, if there's not more to it than just her being powerful, because from what we saw in this movie, she's not close to Thanos' power. We did not have that demonstrated. I mean, Thanos is stronger than Thor, stronger than. I mean, I didn't get a feeling that Captain Marvel was stronger than Thor in this movie.
No, I guess. I mean, think of it this way: like Thanos, before he had all the Infinity Stones, was able to beat up the Hulk. So he's already got that base level of strength and resilience.
So if they all of a sudden just pretend that she alone is enough to defeat Thanos, and then she does without any kind of weird shenanigans going on, I'll be very irritated. And it'll make me mad, because if they don't end this good, because I already wasn't crazy about the ending of the first one, but that's not like the real ending. This is like the real ending. If they don't nail it, and I'm confident they will because they always do, then these two movies, Infinity War and Endgame, will plummet down my list. I mean, they have to nail this ending, but if they just pretend just because she's a woman and she's got like girl power or whatever, she can defeat Thanos, I will be irritated at that for sure. They need to make it better.
Considering the movie is rumored to be over 3 hours long, I've got a feeling there's going to be more to it than that.
Yeah, I'm on team intermission. I think they should have an intermission. It's going to be that long. But that's true. But anyway, so it's going to be really fun. I'm excited for it. It's definitely the movie event of the year for sure. And then we did get one more scene where Goose spits up the Tesseract at his post-credit scene. And so that's how it ended up at S.H.I.E.L.D. And then we also saw Fury getting his eyeballs, and then another thing we didn't really need explained was kind of lame. He looks at the plane of Carol Danvers and decides that it's going to be the Avengers Initiative instead of, I forget what he had in place. But it was a little lame.
Yeah, it was a bit on the nose, the whole Avenger bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it doesn't need to be explained. But like, it's explanation for the sake of explanation.
Yeah. What grade would you give this?
I'd say I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
7.5.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it's a B.
Yeah, same with me. So that's the same. I gave it an 8 out of 10. But yeah, B is kind of where I'm at. I like went from like a B plus to a B. The more I thought about it, on the second watch, I was solidly a B. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I really liked the mystery. And then I liked how it kind of wrapped up. I thought the action was fun. I liked the characters. I really liked Nick Fury and Carol together. That worked for me. I just thought, yeah, it had a lot of fun moments, and overall I was entertained, even though I was a little bored in the middle when they were all at that house.
And what grade would you give Nick Fury's singing?
The young Nick Fury?
Young Nick Fury's singing skills. So I'd give that a C.
Oh, singing skills. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'm not too hard on him because he was just trying to entertain himself. I give him I'm gonna give him a C plus. Yeah, for Nick Fury.
I don't think he'd be to swivel around if he was on The Voice to say that.
Yeah, that's right. He's probably not gonna be on the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, but that's okay.
That's all right.
So. All right. Well, I think we did it. We covered it. And there you go. That is Captain Marvel. It's certainly not the best Marvel movie, but it's certainly not the worst. Do you have a favorite? What's your favorite?
Oh, I'm really favorite to anything, really.
It's tough, I know.
It's tough. I'd be full of Ragnarok.
Oh, it's so good.
It has its own sort of very unique style, sort of humor, the visual style of it as well.
Yeah, it's so good. The Avengers is my favorite. It won me back into comic book movies. I just love it. I think it is so cheerful and just makes you want to stand up and cheer. Everybody fighting together. I love it. I don't know. I love Loki. He's the villain. That makes it better. And so I love the Avengers, and then I love Winter Soldier, Thor Ragnarok, and then Iron Man. Those are my top 4.
Oh, nice. Good choices.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, very good. Well, how can people find you and your site and everything like that?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me at howlovecomics.com. So I explain the complicated ideas around comics, what to read, where you can find comics, all that kind of stuff. So if you ever have any sort of questions, find it confusing, come to me. It'll be this way. You can also find me on Facebook at I Love Comics, and as well as on Twitter as well.
Great.
So feel free to tweet me if you think I was right, I was wrong, whatever you want. Happy to have a conversation about it.
Yeah, that would be really fun. Let us know in the comment section or on Twitter. And yeah, you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media and on YouTube and iTunes. If you're listening on iTunes, if you can give us a ratings and reviews, it's really helpful. And if you're listening on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate that. And thanks again. And we'll have to talk again. The big one's coming up, the big event. Well, is Shazam coming before?
Shazam is coming up early
before,
April.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And I have my comic book of Shazam. So yeah, maybe we'll have to try to do that one. But then definitely for sure, Endgame. There's gonna be a lot to talk about. So.
Oh, definitely.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.